The Oklahoma Sooners got a big-time visit from a 2024 wide receiver prospect that is currently committed down the road. I say down the road, a state away, to the University of Texas Tech. And guys, this guy's massive at 6'6" and 190 pounds, or 195 pounds, is going to be extremely important for the Oklahoma Sooners to potentially try to go out there and flip this guy, especially since, well, not going to have Keon Brown a part of the 2023 cycle. But guys, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscribe button, jump down in the comments below, because here's the deal. Well, I've been compiling a visitor list for the athletes that were on campus for Oklahoma during the Brent Venables football camp. Guys, this talent list, I mean, you look up and down the board, it's loaded. Full of 2024 prospects like four-star edge CJ Jackson, or you have Ivan Carreon, the guy we're about to talk about. You had all of these guys that weren't committed to Oklahoma that are in-state prospects. Then you go look at the 2025 class. You have four-star quarterback Kevin Sperry, four-star linebacker Jonah Williams, four-star wide receiver Adrian Wilson, who I'm sure you guys have seen crystal balls and future cast flow into. Guys, I cannot wait to dive into this list with you guys. But first, we're going to talk about the four-star wide receiver, Ivan Carreon. So, Ivan Carreon is a 6'6", 195-pound wide receiver out of Odessa, Texas. And currently, right now, ranked the 292th ranked player in this class. He has offers from Purdue, Southeast Missouri State, and Texas Tech. Interesting enough to see how he doesn't have offers from the likes of a Texas A&M, a Baylor, some of these in-school states, and how they might be sleeping on him, right? Might be sleeping on him. Here's the deal. Look at his stats. In just 2 seasons, he has 14 rushing attempts, 181 rushing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns, 128 receptions for 2,282 yards and 21 receiving touchdowns. But I want to drill down into these stats a little bit because it tells you about his development and just how good the kid is. In 2021, he had 77 receptions for 1,114 receiving yards for 7 receiving touchdowns. When you look at what he did in 2022, not only was he able to rush the ball, but he had 51 receptions for 1,168 yards and 14 receiving touchdowns. So what does that mean here? That means that although his receptions were cut down by 26, his yards per catch went up because he has 1,168 receiving yards in 2022 compared to the 1,114 in 2021. Not to mention, he was able to double his receiving touchdowns to 14 over the 7 that he got the previous year, giving him a total of 21. So you look at how he's a multi-sport athlete. He plays basketball, competes in track and field, which I would hope he'd play basketball at 6'6". I mean, come on. In high school, you got some opportunity there. But in terms of track and field, he was a Texas 5A regional qualifier as a sophomore in the 110-meter hurdle, placed fourth with a win-aided 14.62, and also posted a 41.40 300-meter hurdle time and a 6'2 high jump in the spring of 2022. But when you look at what he's been able to do in basketball, averaged 14 rebounds and 4 blocked shots during his sophomore basketball season. So, yeah, the kid's an athlete. And you're starting to notice this with guys that the staff are going after. They're going after guys that are multi-sport athletes, those super athletic kids. And so it is, with my opinion, that if he goes out there and puts up a really good senior season, we could see him jump from a 292 to maybe a 175 or top 150 player because he's got the height, so he's got the intangibles to do it. And I'm sure now that Oklahoma is looking at him that, well, there's going to be other schools that try to jump in on this action as well. That's normally what happens when the University of Oklahoma really tries to get in on somebody. But you might be asking, well, if we don't get this kid, we're not able to flip him from Texas Tech, then where is Oklahoma going to go in terms of the receiver with Keon Brown not being in the next class? And that's a really good question because there's a lot of great targets for Oklahoma. And I think Oklahoma has an option and ability to go out here and land these guys. And I think the first one you have to look at is Bryant Wesco. Bryant Wesco definitely has to be a priority for the University of Oklahoma. They cannot miss on him. Now, additionally, you've seen them start to go after a guy like Terry Bousset, who is an incredible athlete out of Timpson, Texas, and one that if the Oklahoma Sooners are able to land, which I'm not thinking they're in the best position to land, but they could definitely try to go out there and get. So outside of those two guys, you could look at a guy like Zion Raggins, who has over 29 offers, and a guy that maybe the Oklahoma Sooners felt good about during the beginning of this cycle. Now, he's out of Gray, Georgia, so definitely the Georgia Bulldogs are looking at him. Now, you've heard a lot of things about Tennessee being in a good position there, and that's potentially still the case. So we'll just have to see, can Emmett Jones get the Sooners back into this recruitment for Zion Raggins and potentially position them as a leader? Now, if you're able to land Bryant Wesco and get a guy like Zion Raggins, then maybe you don't need an Ivan Carreon, but you might get him committed earlier than what you can get Zion Raggins committed. But maybe that puts more of the heat on Zion to make Oklahoma a destination and get it committed there. Now, you've also got Quasi Gilmer from Chatsworth, California at 6'2", 180 pounds. You have Parker Livingstone, who there was a lot of talk around, hey, Oklahoma needs to give this kid an offer. They finally gave him the offer out of Lovejoy High School in Lucas, Texas. Here's the deal, though, with that one. Oklahoma's behind the 8 ball there. So if you're Oklahoma and you want to go out there and get a guy like Parker Livingstone, then you need to turn up the heat ASAP. Additionally, you could look at a guy like Isaiah McMorris, who you heard a lot about, and it seems like that's now trending to Nebraska because Oklahoma took KJ Daniels. But now that you know Keon Brown's not going to be a part of it and you need to get another wide receiver, maybe Isaiah McMorris is now a take for the Sooners and Emmett Jones. So it's going to be curious to see exactly where this wide receiver class goes for OU. But the wide receiver room is in good hands because you have guys like LV Bunkley Shelton. You have Andrell Anthony. You have Jaden Gibson, Nick Anderson. You have DJ Graham, who a lot of people forget is on the team. You have Jalil Farouk. You have Drake Stoops. So we're going to have to watch and see exactly where Oklahoma needs to go with the wide receiver and what direction they want to take in this class, because maybe they try to backload it in 2025 with some of those elite prospects, because in 2025, you have Jaden Nickens out of Millwood. You have Elijah Thomas out of Shakota. You have Adrian Wilson. By the way, all of these guys were camping with Oklahoma during this weekend at some point, and you've seen a lot of future cast and crystal balls flowing for Adrian Wilson over the past day. So maybe in 2025, you go after maybe 4 or 5 wide receivers there, and you don't take as many in the 2024 class. But regardless what the Sooners decide to do, we know Emmett Jones is just that dude, and we know Emmett Jones is going to be able to go out there and get a lot of these guys committed. But guys, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and hit that subscribe button. You definitely don't want to miss out on some of the next videos that are coming up, especially with us breaking down the Brent Venables football camp and breaking down who was at that camp. So guys, go ahead, jump down in the comments below and hit that like and hit the subscribe button.